all as a people, as a parliament, have had enough time. We've engaged legal luminaries. We have nothing new to tell them. You have presented no new points other than moving the goalposts to say you want to be a federal state, and we never had that conversation. Tobagonians never said that. This is on your own volition. This is your own opinion. You have not consulted anybody about that. And most importantly, you have not explained and discussed with Tobagonians the economic implications and what it would mean to us and taking care of ourselves as a federal state if we go that way. As I said before, there's a reason why California rich and Alabama poor. New Jersey rich and Mississippi catching its tail.
All right.
In
Let's
that one country.
Let's go to so the amendments. I want to ask you, what suggestions or amendments when the GLC was active in putting together the final presentation to the Parliament? The Chief Secretary is saying that we want lawmaking powers as part of his suggestion to the amendments. And let's bring that into perspective. And was that part of the consideration of the function of the GLC in suggesting the amendments?
No, Brother B, we've said here over and over that the Joint Select Committee, the legislation that were before us, gave lawmaking powers to the Tobago House of Assembly for the matters in the schedule under its watch. But in giving you lawmaking powers, we have to do so considering that we are remaining a unitary state. This legislation, so now to move the goalpost and say you want exclusive lawmaking powers, you're not a separate country. You're not a separate country, so you can't say, well, in Tobago, the
right to borrow.
The right to borrow is in the legislation also. The right to borrow is in the legislation also. Yes, but we also have to remember that in borrowing, you cannot force the World Bank, the IDB, the CDB to look at Tobago as a country. They deal with countries. They don't deal with parts of islands or parts of states. You understand what I'm saying? They deal with countries. So you have to develop the legislation and the parameters in such a way that we also take into consideration the CDB, the IDB, and so on. Speaking about that, let's talk about Scarborough Sec. Because remember, the Chief Secretary was here making a fuss about the government only giving $500,000 for Scarborough Sec. And I said clearly that if you're developing a school, building a school costing $200 million, $300 million, even the $500 million that they propose, it would not come from the consolidated fund. From the get-go, the intention was to go to a lending agency. I said the IDB, he said the CDB. According to the Minister of Finance, it doesn't matter which lending agency. In order to go to the lending agency, you go as a country. Yes, and they would have certain things that they would need. They would need the scope, they would need your designs and so on. And the Chief Secretary had not submitted the designs to the Minister of Finance or the Minister of Education. And he tried to chastise me for mentioning that the Minister of Education reached out to the Secretary of Education in Tobago and she did not respond. She asked her, well, where's the user brief? Can you share with me what you have? And that is because in the Ministry of Finance, they don't have the expertise about how to build schools and the protocols for building schools. That would be under the Ministry of Education. So even if the Tobago House of Assembly had submitted directly to the Ministry of Finance, he would still have to go to the Ministry of Education to find out if these protocols or if these designs are in keeping with what we do when we go to a lending agency. So the THA needs to show to Tobagonians who learned on social media, just like we learned on social media, that this is happening for Scarborough Sec. We are all in favor of Scarborough Sec getting a new school. As an old Scarborough Sec student, as a member of parliament, as member of parliament for Tobago West, as a Tobagonian, yes. But we have to go about it the right way. And if the THA think that they can call in the CDB and borrow directly from the CDB, then go ahead. But we know that it doesn't happen that way. The CDB deals with countries, therefore you have to talk to the
Since you brought up that, and you admit, Madam Minister,
yes, sir.
You brought up that you attended Scarborough Sec, so there should be a personal interest. As you're representative for Tobago West, let's bring that collaboration that is required to get things off the ground. And I'm finishing my question. Now, given you just admitted that you're an old Scarborough Sec student, Scarborough Sec needs a new school. The location was, they found the location. All they need is the funding. Where does the minister or the area representative from the MP for Tobago West comes in this instance? That is a personal thing to you, one can see, that the school needs to be established. Where do you come in assisting getting the funding?
Let's be honest with Tobagonians, and let's not play emotional games with Tobagonians. I'm a member of Parliament, but I'm also a member of the cabinet where the decisions are being made. We already said, in order to fund this project, it would be loan financing. In order to get the loan financing, there are certain documents that you have to present to the IDB, the CDB, wherever the money is going to be borrowed from. So therefore, they got an allocation. The THA got an allocation of $500,000 to come up with the designs. They may bring in a technical person and so on. When they have completed that, they submit it to the Ministry of Finance, and the Ministry of Finance will submit it to the Ministry of Education. Dr. Dolly thought that she could have reached out to her colleague in Tobago to find out, well, let me see what you're talking about so we could expedite this process. When she submitted that text message, which I have a copy of, the secretary in Tobago did not respond, and I asked all THA once again so that we can help you. Help us help you. Have you submitted your formal document to the Minister of Finance, or are you still going around Tobago talking about you had a verbal agreement with Colin Imbert to get the money? We know that's not the way things work. We can't go to the IDB or the CDB and say, hey, no, we have a verbal agreement. You have to do the necessary. You have to submit. If you give a loan by word of mouth, it will be the Auditor General coming for us, and somebody could be saying we thief, and bet your bottom dollar none of the general public out there does come to defend us when people call us thief. So yes, at the end of the day, I want a new Scarborough Sec. I would champion a new Scarborough Sec. I do, but you have to go through the process to get the loan funding. Imbert said in Trinidad and Tobago, we usually build a secondary school at $200, $250 to $300 million. Chief Secretary is saying he anticipates it's going to cost $500 million. The Ministry of Finance is saying, submit the documents, let's see what you have. But when we borrow at that level. I don't know if Chief Secretary is saying, well, he would cover the rest or so through funding. But we have to see the plans, which you have not submitted to the Ministry of Finance and has not been received by the Ministry of Education. So until those documents come, what am I speaking to? Well, at the level of the cabinet.
Well, I'm seeing here in the comment section, the Secretary for Education here in Tobago is saying the Minister Dolly reached out to me by the same WhatsApp. We are chastising now that I totally missed until you mentioned it on air, Minister.
She missed it. Interesting. She totally missed it. But even if Dolly didn't send a WhatsApp, the Chief Secretary, as he rightly said on the program, he said when he looked in the Tobago House of Assembly Act, he don't see no Minister of Education having to communicate with no Secretary of Education, and Secretary of Education don't have to communicate to no Ministry of Education. He said the law prescribes that the THA submits to the Prime Minister and to the Ministry of Finance directly. That's what he said when he came here. So tell Secretary Hackett, don't hot up your head, because as her leader, the Chief Secretary said, it ain't called for all of that. The question remains, has all Tobago House of Assembly on a matter that is important to the people of Tobago, has Building Scarborough Sec submitted its official requests and its user brief to the Minister of Finance? As late as yesterday, I spoke to the Minister of Finance and the answer was no. So all this song and dance in the public domain is for sympathy, is to play underdog, is to play victim, and to tell Tobagonians that central government fighting we. That is how they get into power, with this underdog victim strategy. But now you are in power. You are the secretary, and it is your business to lead the people. And that is not how you lead. That is not how you get the project done. Do the needful to submit the brief, submit the designs, and so on. As a matter of fact, when he came on this program, he said they are still working on the design and they have to talk to end users and so on. So that means you are not ready for what you're telling the people you're ready for. You turn sad, you didn't tell us so. We learn about it on social media. No problem, you're in charge, and if that is how you lead, we encourage you to follow the guidelines. I want to ask
Madam Minister, where, given that a member for Tobago West, and of course you have your passion, I'm going back to that, but I'm asking this question, where what warrants an intervention from the minister with this construction of the school?
Listen to me,
from
Brother
this
B.
standpoint. We heard from
Brother
the
B.
you mentioned, 1 minute, let me just finish. You mentioned that Kaspidali, Minister of Education, made an intervention.
Our colleague.
Made an intervention. But however, you are the minister. Obviously, there are those who are going to look to see what does Minister Shamfo Kojo-Lewis has to see, or what intervention can she make with this situation? What is it?
My business as a minister, as member of parliament, is to support my Tobago House of Assembly. Yes, to do the right thing and submit its documents. I cannot instruct, and I don't want to instruct or intervene in that way to a Tobago House of Assembly. This is the internal self-government we're fighting for, to have our own say in our own place and do our own thing. So why must I as a minister, or why should Tobagonians want me as a minister to come to try to instruct or direct a secretary with all her authorities, or a chief secretary with all his authority? I am all for internal self-government and more power and more authority for the Tobago House of Assembly, no matter who's sitting there. So I support Chief Secretary Fali Augustine getting more power. I support Secretary Zorisha Hackett getting more power. It is not my business. It is out of place for me to try to direct or instruct a THA, no matter who's sitting there. When the PNM sitting there, it's not my business to do that. When the TPP or anybody sitting there, we have to respect all Tobago House of Assembly in a dignified way and respect their authority and their autonomy. So my business is to encourage my Chief Secretary and my Secretary of Education, my Tobago House of Assembly, with all its authority and autonomy, to conduct its business the way it should. And I would be there cheering on and supporting and voting yes, yes, yes.
Excellent. We got to go for the break. We got to take a